Our talks today are going to be four amazing candidates in local San Diego races, and we're going to go in alphabetical order if that's okay, which means we will start with Colleen Cusack, who is running for San Diego City Council in District 3. So welcome, Colleen.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Why I'm running? I came to San Diego 34 years ago to go to law school. Since then, I've been a criminal defense attorney where every case I defend, I'm also the Constitution is a co-defendant in that case, and I've been a strident defender of our liberties and our rights, and especially of marginalized communities for over 30 years now. Speaking of Kamala Harris, I used to talk about Kamala and her smart on crime when I was a college professor teaching to a mostly law enforcement student population, adult working population in the criminal justice program. And that was the smart on crime was the new counter to the tough on crime that had dominated criminal justice for 40 years. And so she had, through her publication, kind of coined the term and got credit for that. She, as Attorney General, put into practice RIPA, which is the Racial and Identity Profiling Advisory Board. And that had ripple effects. Now police officers have to document the race and identity of those they stop so it can be tracked, and so that disparities in the system can be remedied. And I spent a large part of my practice seeking those remedies. And so one of the other things I've been doing in my practice is representing homeless individuals. They get, I had set up a clinic at California Western School of Law, which is the school I attended that brought me to San Diego. And that to teach students how to defend persons who were accused of crime by practicing on those who found themselves before traffic court. And in that capacity, we encountered homeless persons who were defending themselves on charges such as covering their head with cardboard in the rain, or disturbing the trash, or putting an object on the ground for however long or however large. And so these were, in my estimation, clearly unconstitutional, and we challenged them. The clinic was terminated, but I continued in my fight. And much to my chagrin, and I continued to represent homeless people, I took on a second job as a K-12 substitute teacher to afford my philanthropy. So when I'm not in court, I grab a class to substitute, and I'm very much enjoying being in the classroom. I do everything from kindergarten through 12th grade. And much to my chagrin, my council member passed an ordinance in my city that criminalizes the most vulnerable members of our city. And it became a large focus of my attention and my work. And when he came up for re-election, I thought it was in the best interest of the city that we not continue in this direction. And that's why I am running. I've lived in the district now for 26 years. I've raised my son here. His name is Justice, evidencing how long I've been in pursuit of justice. And he's now a graduate of Cal State Northridge. Very proud of him. And it's for him that I'm running as well, and all the youth and the direction we want to see the city go in. I'd like to apply a human rights-based approach to all of our systems, and especially housing and homelessness. And to that end, I invited the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Adequate Housing out here to San Diego to inspect the conditions, and we still have a relationship. She came in 2019. We still have a current relationship, and she's heading up a global organization that helps municipalities protect itself from corporate profiteers and maintain housing as a shelter instead of as a financial commodity for the benefit of residents. So I'm anxious to get elected to apply the directives that she's already constructed that will help us do that. And it's great to see Tara Lawson Raymer here, as she's been instrumental in the SURF Index. Maybe she can talk to you about that, but that's a framework that measures our successes based on the attainment of our rights. And I would love that if Ms. Ferbert were to be elected as well, because of her background in homelessness, the fact that she's an attorney, unlike her opponent, and an active attorney, I should say, and her and a co-endorsee of Run Women Run. I definitely think it's so important right now to have so many women in politics, and I feel as excited as I do now as I did the evening before the October 2016 election. So,
Colleen, what can we do to help your campaign?
I am up against a lot of moneyed interests, and it's as I get to know all the neighbors in the community, I'm just so awestruck by how many all do want to see a more humane approach, a more effective approach, a better approach to homelessness and housing in our city. And so getting the word out, spreading the word of my candidacy is essential, and certainly helping to counter the money through donations. So more volunteers, and if there's an opportunity that I can speak at events such as this, on broader topics, even on the topic of criminal justice reform, and on the topic of access to education, I would love those opportunities as well. If you have other forums or other organizations, groups, and affiliations in the community.
So, Colleen, there's two questions for you. One's an easy one. Are some of your talking points available on your website?
Yes, my website is I'll put it in the chat. It's Colleen, Coleen, Colleen with one L, the number 4, sd.com. If you use 2 L's, it'll redirect. And yes.
Alrighty, and then there was a question from Tama Becker Verano in the chat about what you would do differently regarding the Hillcrest Community Plan update, and how in particular to ensure new developments have more affordable and low income housing. And how do you and Stephen Whitburn differ on that?
So I'll start with the difference. I am going to be a lot more proactive than my opponent in securing affordable housing. It's fairly easy to get things built at the high end. It's more of a challenge at the bottom end. So we can't be passive about it. It has to be done to scale, not just at a trickle. We have to think outside the box. There's a new law that my opponent hasn't had the ability to maximize yet either, but that gives school districts and churches the opportunity to use their land to build upon to house local workers. And we should be exploring modular housing. I will I believe there's a lot of frustration in my district with the ability to communicate with their elected representatives. And that is at the core of the need for democracy. So I wish to be more accessible and encourage more open contribution. There's been a pervasive attitude that the contribution from community. So to get to the Hillcrest plan, I participated in contributions to that plan. And when it was produced, all of those, those different workshops weren't incorporated into that plan. So the lack of parks and plan for the infrastructure in that plan is frustrating. At San Diego, we have a tendency not to negotiate for the good things we want, and it appears to be a gift to developers. We're not building at the current density levels yet, and so doubling and tripling those levels in random fashion where things could spring up here and there and everywhere is troubling as well. So I'd certainly like a reconsideration of it with more community input and transparency in the process.
Thank you very much. I know there's probably a lot more questions, and hopefully people can engage with you after the meeting. But thank you, Colleen, and we will be supporting you as you go forward.
Thanks.
Our next speaker is going to
Thank
be
you.
Heather.
Thank you very much for inviting me and for hosting this event. Very much appreciated.
Of course, we appreciate you. And our next speaker, Heather Ferber, who's running for city attorney. Take it away, Heather.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's nice to see everyone on this lovely Saturday afternoon. I, like everyone in the chat, am feeling excited, invigorated at the news, and very excited to be on the ballot with a female presidential candidate this time, with everything that's happened in the past. My name is Heather Ferbert. I am currently a Chief Deputy City Attorney here working for the City of San Diego. I have spent my career representing the citizens of San Diego. I moved here 20 years ago for law school, but my father grew up in San Diego. So I've spent my childhood visiting family here and really learning more about the city. So I knew when I had the opportunity to go to University of San Diego, I jumped at it, and I knew I would never leave. So we moved here and started raising a family here. I graduated from law school and started working with a law firm that represents the San Diego Housing Commission. And that's when I really fell in love with local government. I call myself a local government nerd. I've always been really fascinated by it, the impact that it has on all of our lives, that you can drive around and see the impact of your work. And it really hit home how important it was for me when the real estate market crashed and HUD released a bunch of money to help keep people housed who had gotten into predatory loans and were facing foreclosures and evictions. And we were working on behalf of our local government to keep people in their homes. And it was really impactful, meaningful work to me. And I knew this was where I belonged. So about 10 years ago, I was ready for a change. I moved over to the city attorney's office, and I've had the privilege to work with just about every city department there is on a whole bunch of different issues facing our community. When the pandemic hit, I wrote the first eviction moratorium in San Diego County for the city to make sure that people who were sent home from service jobs and other jobs that were closed due to the health orders weren't going to be evicted because they couldn't pay their rent. The last thing we wanted was more people to wind up homeless because public health orders said everybody needed to go home from work. So I was really honored to work on that. It's really important legal work. It was challenged, and we won the legal challenges. So it says that the legal work was good. So I was very proud and excited about that. I've worked on more recently a buffer zone amendment to make sure that people accessing reproductive healthcare clinics and places of worship and schools don't get harassed by protesters, that they can go and access an abortion or whatever healthcare they need without having to fight a protester to get in the door. That the protesters have to leave them alone, and the burden's on the protester to leave people accessing these locations alone, because it shouldn't be on the person trying to walk in and get healthcare to say, leave me alone. So we switched that ordinance around very recently. I was honored to work with a city attorney to do that. And really, I decided to run because the current city attorney broke the glass ceiling about 8 years ago. I watched her do it. I was really inspired, and I was thinking about who should follow her. And I decided right away it needed to be another woman. It needed to be somebody who understood the city attorney's office, how important this role is to making sure our city makes sound decisions, that taxpayer dollars aren't being wasted on things that will result in frivolous lawsuits. Re-elect our mayor, our city council, to make decisions with what to do with that money based on your priorities. And if that money is put into bad property investments or spent on things that result in frivolous lawsuits and massive amounts of lawsuit settlements, then that money's not available for the things we really need. So I know the job. I've been doing the job. I'm excited about this race. I'm honored to have a bunch of endorsements, including the outgoing city attorney, Run Women Run, California Women's List, several Democratic clubs. And really, I'm the only legal lawyer in the race. I've been practicing almost 20 years, and I'm running against an opponent who hasn't practiced in 24. It's a very stark difference, and the legal community has lined up to support me, which has been really exciting. So all of the different bar associations, the LGBT Bar Association, Earl B. Gilliam, Tom Homan, La Raza lawyers, the bar associations have gotten behind me because lawyers understand we need somebody who understands this office. And so I'm excited to be here today. And I'm supposed to talk about ways to support. I'll drop a note. I really like Danny's notes. I'm working on something similar with all the links for everyone. But I am running against an established politician who has a lot of money. I am the underdog candidate, even though I won the primary significantly. I think that has a lot to do with our voters to realize they want an attorney in the city attorney's office leading this office. It's an important role. And we need to make sure we can share that message with voters again in November. And that's exactly what I intend to do. So if you have it in you to contribute or volunteer or spread the word, I'll share all of the ways to do that. We're putting together events right now, so I'll share a link to the events page, but there's nothing on it right now because we're finalizing some stuff for August and September. That's going to be really exciting. We'll be phone banking. I have yard signs. If you want a yard sign, just email me, and would love to hear from everybody how best supporting me would help, how we can get you excited about this race. It's really exciting. We have a lot to do. I'm excited to take this office, continue the very important gun violence prevention work of the current city attorney, expand that, and keep our community safe from gun violence. Our office runs a family justice center serving survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and elder abuse. It's bursting at the seams. It needs a bigger location. It needs to be expanded so we can serve a bigger population here in San Diego and spread the word about it. And I would love to see them expand into teen dating violence to hopefully prevent the cycle of domestic abuse early. If we can teach our teenagers what healthy relationships look like, I think we can help spare a lot of people suffering and prevent people from being criminal justice involved, hopefully, because they've learned how they can handle breaking cycles that they might have experienced in their youth. So super excited to be here. Thank you so much. Looking forward to November, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions for Heather? I see that Tama has one, and since she got a question with Colleen, I'll defer to anybody else who wants to ask a question. First, you can put it in the chat. That's probably okay. Sherry says, how would you function to not be a rubber stamp for vested real estate interests?
Having had the experience of working with pretty much every council member that currently sits on some of their priorities, I have always practiced as I view it as an umpire. I call balls and strikes. I tell them what's legal, what's not, and what's risky. And I think sometimes we see that play out currently messy. I'm not sure if anybody followed the hearing on Monday about the Kettner and Vine project, but the city attorney's office put out a fairly scathing memo about the deal and the concerns that our office had on the legalities of it and the risk of it. And that's exactly what this office needs to do to not be a rubber stamp. It needs to look at these deals and these transactions and say, in our opinion, legally, and sometimes legally is different than whether or not it's a good financial deal. And so you see a little bit of that too, right? Maybe it's expensive, but it's legal, or maybe it's expensive and it has legal issues. And that's sort of what my read, and not being involved in it, but my read of the documents was, this is an expensive deal and it's a legally risky deal. And so making sure that our decision makers, the city council, the mayor, are fully informed, that we are pushing back and saying, this is what it needs to be. And continuing to fight for the independence of this office. There was a push about 6 months ago to split the office up and have appointed city attorney legal counsel for the council and the mayor. And that would really just end up, in my opinion, functioning as that rubber stamp that we are concerned about. You wouldn't have that independence because with an elected city attorney, you really have that responsibility to the voters to be looking out for their best interests, which means we're looking out for the best interest of the city as a whole, not one council member, one mayor, the council as a whole, one department. We're looking out for the city. And we always need to be looking for that when we are reviewing real property transactions or whatever the deal is, to prevent being that rubber stamp. Because in my opinion, that's the nightmare. It's never going to be good if everybody is just pushing things along to get along. Like sometimes it needs to be push back, have these dialogues, have these conversations to have the best product for the city. I have always believed if all of the stakeholders on a project are a little bit unhappy, that means we probably found something that's fair. And fair to me is better than perfect, and fair to me is better than one-sided or another. So I'm always looking for that. Is everybody giving and taking, and is there a healthy push and pull? So I think all of those things are really important to keeping that independence and avoiding being a rubber stamp.
And let's see. Tama asks, what affordable and low-income housing organizations are you meeting with to ensure those voices receive full attention? And what local criminal justice reform organizations have you met with to get better educated on the criminal justice side of the city attorney's office?
Of course, the name of the one that just jumped into my head just left. I'm always willing. So let me start with, I'm always willing to meet, and I would love to meet with more. I have worked with a lot of the affordable housing developers in my work with the Housing Commission, and I've worked with Housing Commission and some of those stakeholders. I also have a lot of connections with the legal organizations serving population, so Legal Aid and San Diego Volunteer Lawyers, and I'm having conversations with them about things that could be helpful. I very much want to keep having those conversations, and I'm willing to have an open dialogue on the criminal justice reform. It's Darwin Fishman's organization, but I cannot remember the name of it. It's the one that just flew out of my head. But
Racial Justice Coalition.
Thank you. Yes, them. And I would love to keep having conversations and working with that. I'm excited about the new chief of police. I've worked with him in the past, and I would love to see what the city attorney's office as misdemeanor prosecutors can do with the police department to try to make changes in our criminal justice system here locally. I think the misdemeanor approach is a really good place to start looking at diversion, start looking at other programs and other ways to consider policing and enforcement, and try and keeping people out of the criminal justice system unless we have to go that path. And like, what are those conversations? And it's work I want to continue to do. I've been focusing on winning so I can actually have these conversations, and would like to continue to do that. So yes, thank you, Tama, and definitely want to keep having those conversations.
Okay. Thank you so much, Heather. Please remember to put all your contact information and how we can help in the chat, and we'll be there for you.
Thank you so much.
And our next speaker is going to be coming from Tara Lawson Reamer's office. I believe the supervisor couldn't make it today, but I think it's Eve who will be here and who will speak on her behalf.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. My name is Eve Antikyre, and I'm here on behalf of Democratic Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer. Tara represents District 3 of the Board of Supervisors, which ranges from Carlsbad in the north to Coronado in the south. The Board of Supervisors controls a lot, but I'd say an overall summary, what is a big impact they have is over the county budget, which is billions upon billions of dollars. Now you're probably thinking, who is Democratic Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer? Tara is an economist, attorney, and former advisor to the Obama administration. She's facing a critical challenge to her seat on the Board of Supervisors. She's endorsed by local leaders you know, like Mike Levin, Sarah Jacobs, Tony Adkins, etc. She's endorsed by organizations you're probably familiar with, like Planned Parenthood, SIU 221, who represents county workers, and the Sierra Club. As a supervisor, Tara has provided millions in rental assistance to seniors and others in danger of becoming homelessness. She's watched out for our environment. She declared a state of emergency over the Tijuana sewage crisis and divested the county from fossil fuels. She's looked out for working class families. She started an Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement to protect workers from harassment and wage theft. She's fought to keep our kids safe from gun violence. She passed safe storage regulations and directed county council to sue reckless gun manufacturers for their role in deadly shootings. But you're probably thinking, what is at stake if Tara loses? Her opponent, former San Diego mayor and staunch supporter of Trump policies, Kevin Faulconer, threatens to undo Tara's progress on issues like gun violence prevention. He's endorsed by the San Diego County gun owners. In contrast, Tara is endorsed by San Diegans for gun violence prevention. Why is MAGA Republican former mayor of the city of San Diego, Kevin Faulconer, the wrong choice for San Diego? First of all, he's responsible for the 101 Ash Street scandal, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. In this, he prioritized a minority owner in the building, one of his campaign donors, and cost taxpayers $264 million. He's funded by the same donors as Donald Trump. He was able to raise what Tara raised in 2 years in 6 months. He lost the Chargers when he was mayor, and he did a 9-year pay raise for City of San Diego workers. I can't even imagine what that would look like for county workers. Now, there's a lot at stake because Tara is the only competitive Board of Supervisors district up for election this cycle. The Board of Supervisors is currently 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans. If she loses and Kevin Faulconer joins the Board of Supervisors, it will be run by Trump Republicans. A recent poll has shown a concerning trend. It's a toss-up. More than a third of voters are undecided, and her MAGA opponent has 90% name recognition. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, why does an incumbent have worse name recognition than an opponent? Well, first of all, redistricting plays a big role in that. So in 2020 redistricting, she gained new areas of North County and also areas like Pacific Beach. Now, MAGA Republican Kevin Faulconer represented Pacific Beach when he was mayor of the city, as well as before that when he was a city council member. So he's better name recognition there. Furthermore, a huge challenge that the campaign is facing is that Board of Supervisors races in the state of California are legally nonpartisan races. And legally nonpartisan means even though Tara can have the endorsement from the Democratic Party, even though she can promote herself as a Democrat, she cannot have a D next to her name on the ballot, and her MAGA Republican opponent will not have an R next to his name on the ballot. So these voters are not going to know Tara is a Democrat unless we go and we knock on their doors. Tara needs your immediate support. So we have an additional 70,000 doors to knock before Election Day, and we need volunteers knocking on doors in the most crucial areas of the district: Pacific Beach, North County, and University City. Now you're probably thinking, why University City? So in University City, in the 2020 election, we had 10,000 more Democrats vote for Joe Biden than voted in the Board of Supervisors race. That's due to it being legally nonpartisan. That's due to these college students, others that live in University City, not knowing she's a Democrat unless we knock on those doors. And if you're not able to knock on doors, we do need volunteers to phone bank. Every Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m., we have a virtual phone bank as well as an in-person phone bank in our office in La Jolla. Without additional volunteers making calls and knocking on doors, Tara's hard-fought progress will be at risk. So we urge you to take action today to keep our county democratic. You can sign up to volunteer, sign up for a yard sign. I'm going to put the links in the chat, and together we can ensure that Tara Lawson Remer continues to lead our county towards a brighter, more inclusive future. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Eve. That was great. And are there questions for Eve? Can Tara's name be on the Democratic endorsed flyers that get mailed out?
Yeah, Vivian, so that is a great question. Luckily, her name can be put on those flyers, but due to the 2020 redistricting, she needs a lot of individual attention. I mean, there's a lot of candidates on those flyers. So when we send our volunteers out to knock on doors, we have these lit pieces. It says vote November 5th, a picture of Tara, some things about her, as well as that her opponent is a Republican. So we hit both things there. They know people whose doors we knock on. If they don't answer, if they see our flyer, they know she's a Democrat, they know her opponent's a Republican. So in addition to those Deb endorsed party flyers, we need people leaving our flyers as well. And a great way to do that would be to sign up to Canvas on our website.
And Eve, our group actually, we're going to be doing a big push for canvassing at our next meeting. We'll be providing some training, but if people volunteer to canvass with you guys, do you train people beforehand?
Yes, of course. So at our Canvas launches for the new people, we have a training. What we do is we update them on the state of the campaign, what's at risk. Then we make sure everybody has the right materials. Going on from there, we do a script training. Our script is super easy, super customizable. We just make sure to hit 3 questions. Can Democrat Tara Lawson Remer count on your support? Can Democrat Tara Lawson Remer count on you to volunteer? Can Democrat Tara Lawson Remer count on you to get a yard sign? Then we teach volunteers how to use our app, which is super easy to use. Everyone goes off, and then we all meet at the end for a debrief.
All right, that sounds very good. And I see there's one more question. Any plans for letter writing, postcarding, or letters to voters?
Yeah, so we're going to be starting to do that every other Friday within the next few weeks, and we'll keep you updated. So share if you want to direct message me your contact information in the chat. I can reach out to you once we get started with postcarding.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you, Eve, so much. If you could put links to Tara's website in the chat, we will make sure that those get also communicated in the follow-up email. So thank you very much. And Eve, if there's a group of us, like from our group, Swing Left San Diego, that want to volunteer to canvass as a group, can we contact you, or who should we contact so that we can sort of have an organization showing up rather than individuals?
For sure, yeah. We're looking for organizations to adopt our canvases. So I'm going to send, are you the best person to direct message the contact information?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and send you my boss's information. She's in charge of scheduling the adopted canvases. We would love to do that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Wonderful. Yes, and there were some other requests about postcarding information as well. And Maggie will, when Eve supplies that information, we'll also supply it in our follow-up email. Thank you so much, Eve.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
And finally, last but not least, Dr. Lachey Sharp Collins is the 4th candidate that we're going to hear from. Unfortunately, we learned yesterday or today that she's really suffering with COVID, and she isn't able to be here with us, but her trusty support person, Jessica, is here to talk about why we need to support Lachey. Take it away, Jessica.
Oh, thank you so much. Hello, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Lachey's really, believe me, she would be here if we did forbid her from doing it. She got COVID and pushed herself, and now she's going to have to, we're going to have to lock the door to her bedroom, make sure she rests, so that she gets better. But I'm thrilled to be here. I actually came out of retirement to do this campaign because I was asked by Dr. Shirley Weber, and because I truly believe in this candidate, and I believe that she's exactly the right person for this district, and I live in the district. She's the only candidate endorsed by the Democratic Party. She protects women's and LGBT persons' reproductive rights. She prioritizes equity in education. She wants to deliver environmental justice. She wants to work with the governor's office and the legislature to produce actual affordable housing. Because in order for us to get true affordable housing, the state is going to have to step in, and probably the federal government too. Her experiences is that she has 14 years as an adjunct professor at San Diego State University, where she helped write the curriculum for Africana Studies. She's 9 years as district director for Dr. Shirley Weber, 6 years on the board of Planned Parenthood, and she was born and raised in this district. She bought her home in this district. Her parents live in this district, and she's raising her children in this district. She understands what the struggles are. She's lived them. She understands what the solutions need to be. She works for the San Diego County Office of Education. She is their community engagement specialist. She has a doctorate in education. She's a specialist in education. And what she does for the Office of Education is county-wide. She strengthens the curriculum in 42 school districts, positively impacting over 500,000 students and their families in almost 780 schools. Her top priority overall is that zip code should never determine the quality of education. And she's implementing programs that are walking towards that goal. Lachey was instrumental in passing legislation to curb violence against communities of color. She created a task force to audit school districts, protect taxpayers, and boost transparency and accountability in school funding. She spearheaded legislation to give more families access to early childhood education. She's endorsed by Dr. Shirley Weber and Dr. Akilah Weber. They both recruited her. Dr. Shirley Weber was the first Black person from San Diego County to go to the state legislature. Her daughter was the second. Lachey will be the third. She is challenged by a white male who moved to the district to run for La Mesa City Council. He is backed by some very deep pocket Republicans. One of them is Jeff Palmer, a billionaire who builds apartments in LA, now building apartments here in San Diego, and he is a bundler for Donald Trump. She's also endorsed by Senator Tony Atkins and Senator Emeritus Ben Wayso. She's the only candidate endorsed by the California Democratic Party. I keep saying this because her opponent runs out going, I'm a Democrat. She was on the board of Planned Parenthood. She's endorsed by the Planned Parenthood, the Sierra Club, California Teachers Association, the California Nurses Association, plus over 100 more local and statewide community leaders, elected officials, organizations, unions, and Democratic clubs, including the Progressive Democratic Club, and it's good to see you, Danny. Lachey is well positioned if we can get the word out to our voters. The district has the same population as Tara's. It covers this nearly the same size in space to walk, but what is at stake is the loss of this seat to her opponent, which means that San Diego County will lose the only Black seat San Diego County has ever had, and will be 12 years before we get another one. But even more important, he has never once mentioned women's rights to reproductive choice, not one time. It isn't in his platform. It's not on his website. It has never come out of his mouth on any, and it's not on any of his materials. He is shooting for higher office. So it makes a difference. It will really make a difference. They've raised $1.6 million in the primary to try and get this guy into office. He got less than 40%. There were two Black women running against him, Lachey Sharp Collins and Raquel Vasquez. And the two Black women took 60% of the vote. This district is inclined to vote for Black women. We have to get the message out. So what we need are volunteers to cover ground, to phone, to text, to write postcards. If you want them, we will make postcards and you can write them. There's always walking, knocking, and talking to voters. So if you need more information, please ask me. If you want to know anything about what happened in the primary, please ask me. If you want to know anything about more of her positions, please ask me. If not, please sign up to volunteer. District 79 goes from just beyond, just right where the naval base is, across the street from the naval base, across the freeway there. It goes all the way out to Spring Valley. It goes through Sherman Heights, Barry Logan. It comes around, swings out, gets Paradise Hills. It's got a little pocket in City Heights and in North Park, a little pocket in Bonita. It goes up through the Black community. It goes into Lemon Grove, La Mesa, and a little part of San Diego, a little part of El Cajon and Spring Valley. So it is a huge district. We are a scrape and buy campaign, and we really need your help. Your volunteer here will make a huge impact to our voters, make a huge impact in this race. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. And we do have
Thank you, Wendy, for letting me speak. Yeah.
Yeah. What is Dr. Collins' plan for policing accountability?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Oh, her website is LASHAE, Lachey, forassembly.com. Lachey worked with Dr. Shirley Weber in making the changes that were made for policing accountability. She wants, it's a misunderstanding that people in impacted communities don't want police presence. They do. What they don't want is police mistaking innocent people for people who are creating crimes. And she wants equity. She's all about equity. She wants the police violence against people of color to stop. Full stop. And she will work towards that. She worked towards that with Dr. Weber. She was on point on a lot of that legislation.
Wonderful. And do you know, are there any geographic overlaps of Assembly District 79 with any of the three candidates that we're hearing from today, so that we could sort of do double or triple our efforts?
Yes. Colleen, the seat she's running for, I'm pretty sure City Heights is in there, as is North Park. Heather Ferber to City of San Diego. So anywhere in the City of San Diego, and fully of the population in the district, the population of voters in the district, the bulk of that is City of San Diego, and in the primary shaded very well in the City of San Diego. So yeah, so I would say Heather and Colleen, and I can, City Heights is City of San Diego, North Park is City of San Diego. So that would encompass all three.
City
And
Heights.
those are areas that are,
City Heights would be District 9.
oh, that's
Not-
9. All right, what about North Park?
But yes, I even have a song that I did that tells you
Is
the-
North Park in the district?
North Park, South Park, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, and please tell Lachey to get better as soon as possible. But you did a great job standing in for her. So thanks so much for being here, Jessica.
Thank you. Lachey for Assembly, look us up. Thank you.
Let's give, virtual applause, I guess it is, to all 4 of our speakers today. Again, just really fills me with a lot of pride and hope to have such dynamic, wonderful candidates that we can feel good about supporting. So thanks to all, and you'll be hearing follow-up from me on all the ways that you can help.